ढोल गवार शूद्र पशु नारी ये सब ताड़न के अधिकारी। जी हाँ दोस्तों, ढोल गवार और शूद्र पशु नारी ये सब ताड़न के अधिकारी। क्या आपने इस पर ध्यान दिया? Did you focus on certain words here? Yes, the word Shudra, the word which is actually denoting a caste. This is the topic today. I, Vineet Pandey, am going to talk about Dalit literature, and in this lecture, I will be talking about top 10 influential Dalit writers to read for your exams, for your knowledge, for your preparations. Do you know in Mahabharat, when Yudhishthir and Duryodhan were actually competing to become the prince, the crown prince, they are given a problem to solve. The problem is that one person has been killed by four different people. So there are four murderers, they have killed someone. When Duryodhan is given a chance to do the justice, Duryodhan says, life for the sake of life. If these four people have killed someone, I also demand their death for the same cause. When the same question was asked from Yudhishthir, Yudhishthir requested to know about their caste. One person came and said, I am a Brahmin. Another one spoke, I am a Kshatriya. The third one, he said, I am a Vaishya. And the fourth one said, I am a Shudra. Going for these castes. And then Yudhishthir turns for his judgment, and he goes for the judgment on the basis of four different classifications of the caste, four different Varna Vyavastha system. And from here, we get to know that in that particular society, the society was divided in four different caste structures. Yes, my friends, it's a deep-rooted thing. And this deep-rooted structure tells us that how the upper caste would actually try to dominate the lower caste. Do you know this thing that right now we have multiple writers and authors coming from the Dalit community who have told us about the exact truth, what has happened, how these people got suffered, how they were compromised, how their rights were snatched by the upper caste people. In this video, along with the top 10 writers, I'll also tell you that how the Dalit Panther movement started from Maharashtra, Dalit Shoshit Sangharsh Samaj Samiti, DS4. This was also a kind of movement that got started from Maharashtra, then became a nationwide movement. Along with this, also remember this, that there was a proper slogan for this, Brahman Thakur Baniya Chhod, Baki Sab Hai DS4. So there was a proper movement for this particular revolution, and when the writers came out with those stories where we actually had no idea that how painful their life was. I personally, if I recall my own experience, I met Mr. Balbir Madhopuri, who wrote a famous work Chhangya Rook, where he talks about his own childhood days, where he says that being a Dalit in a school, we were not allowed to sit on the chair and table. We were sitting in the carpet thing, and moreover, we were used to clean the schools. The Dalit students of the school were actually given the task to clean the school while the upper caste kids would play outside. So there are so many tyrannies, there are so many tortures, and this is good thing that right now there are people who are speaking about these things. We are going to talk about these writers one by one. The cultural richness of Indian literature reaches its apotheosis through the Dalit community. There is a subculture of writers responsible for significant writing about the socio-political landscape of India. In the Indian caste system, Dalit belongs to the fifth Varna, also known as the Panchama. The Panchama included people from the lowest caste. They were denied constitutional rights and dubbed as the untouchables. Despite the abolition of caste system in 1948, there are still traces of prejudice and implicit biases that stem from the historical underpinnings of Indian history. Caste remains a powerful norm that dictates many Indian lives. Systematic persecution of Dalit is ingrained in Indian society. Many Dalits still experience violence, discrimination due to the caste politics. And so, the Dalit literature was blatantly ignored and repressed. It was considered crass and unfit to represent Indian culture despite its perspective, observation of sex, gender identity, sexuality, and casteism. So here we have a list of top 10 Dalit writers you should actually know and you must Read these people. The first in my list is my personal choice as a writer, Meena Kandaswamy. Do you know she is a critically acclaimed poet from Chennai, Tamil Nadu? Her works, her poetries have been translated in 18 plus languages. Her debut collection, The Touch Poetry, it highlights the issues of casteism in India, and her second poetry collection, Miss Militancy, is a feminist retelling of Tamil and Hindu mythologies. Meena Kanswamy is also known for her essays, where she got her essays published in the New York Times, Gunaika Times, Al Jazeera, Guardian, and a lot other places. She has been called a tool for political dissent from Indian feminist perspectives. The next writer in my list is another female writer, Bama Faustina Susairaz. Bama's autobiographical novel, Karuki, which is also known as The Blades, is a fixture to feminist Dalit literature. Apart from Karuku, Bama published three more novels, Vendetta, Sangati, and Mischief Maker. You know, she is actually known for a famous work, My. This My work is actually a classic and represents the first-hand experience of a Dalit community, Dalit family. Her novels are available in English translations. You can simply buy it from Amazon, Flipkart, or wherever you want. The third writer in my list is one of the greatest writers from Dalit Indian literature. Yes, Baburao Bagbal, one of the greatest writer, a fighter from Dalit rights, also represents Dalit literature in modern India. He has written stories, articles. Moreover, he is politically active, and one of his greatest work we have is When I Had My Caste, Jehwa Mein Jaat Chiroli. It's an amazing story of migration. Don't forget to read this. This is a cult classic. Fourth writer in my list is Urmila Pawar. Do you know she is recognized for her famous work, The Weave of Bamboo, which is also known as Aidan. She has actually worked with many feminist organizations. Her famous short story, The Sixth Finger and Motherhood, are critically acclaimed and are really famous. She has written in Marathi. Now, the next writer in my list is Namdev Dhasil. As a student of NET JRF exam or English Literature competitive exam, remember these writers are going to be asked in your exam. In NET exam, they have multiple questions from Dalit literature, and here, make sure you remember the names of writers, you remember the names of the books. Talking about Namdev Dhasil, please remember this thing, that he is highly acclaimed, very famous poet from Maharashtra. He is also known as the founder member of Dalit Panther movement, that was an organization to seek to combat the caste discrimination. He is also famous for his multiple awards like Padma Shri, Golden Jubilee, and other things. He wrote a famous work, Gold Peat, which was his first poetry collection and became a super hit work. Sixth writer in my list is one of the greatest writers from Indian English literature. His name is Mulkraj Anand. He is also known as Anglo-English fiction writer. Has won Padma Bhushan Award and is famous for his greatest book, the first work, Untouchable. Untouchable gained him wide recognition and praise. He has since published various and other books that received critical acclaim, and from Indian literature point of view, he is very important for you. The next writer we have is Periyar E.V. Ramasamy, an Indian activist who was one of the first persons to fight against the gender inequality in India and casteism. His books talk about the realities of women in Indian society. He also questions in his famous book, Why Were Women Enslaved? He talks about the impact of exploitive patriarchy. He talks about prostitution. He talks about widowhood and remarriage. In my list, the 8th number is given to Jyotiba Phule. Jyotiba Phule is one of the greatest Indian activists, anti-caste social reformer. He worked very hard to establish one of the first girls' school in India in 1848. He was the man against slavery and kept on fighting against gender inequality. He wrote a famous work, Gulamagiri. Gulamagiri was dealing with slavery. In my list, the 9th writer we have is Baby Kamble. Baby Kamble, born in Mahar caste, which is known as untouchable caste, she is also a famous Dalit activist, and she herself inspired Babasaheb Ambedkar. Her famous work is The Prison We Broke. She tells her story through self-aware commentary. She has given us the first-hand account of the atrocities done by the upper caste for the lower caste. The last but the greatest one we have is Babasaheb Ambedkar, and in this thing, I am just going to tell you that he has written a book, Annihilation of Caste. We all know about him, his contribution for our constitution, his contribution for Dalit life, Dalit identity. But here, with all my due respect to him, I want you all to write in comments. जी हाँ दोस्तों, बाबा साहिब के लिए मैं चाहता हूं आप बताइए, because you all have read him, you all must be knowing about him, and I think this is your time to write about him in the comments. Don't forget to like this thing, because this is what education teaches us. This is what education wants from us, to have an understanding that it's you and me, we are just human being, there are no castes, there are no genders. With this line, waiting for your likes, at least 1000 likes on this video. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.